Good morning. How's everybody doing there today? So we're in Zacatecas, and we're at the Mira El Eden, or Mina El Eden. It's a mine. Just to kind of give you a little bit of history here. So the city was founded in 1546, and the mine was opened about 40 years later, and produced gold and silver up until about 1960. When the shafts flooded and collapsed. So pretty fascinating. The tour here is about an hour. I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's that white vehicle. So you're in a little capsule, and it takes you into the inside of the center of the mine. So should be pretty good. And we'll see how it goes. So let's see. So this is the part of the tour where they show you how the evolution of the mining has taken place from sledgehammers to jackhammers. And I will say, this has been a pretty interesting tour. There's a lot of people like that that are in here. And it's kind of a combination of a tour and a haunted house, and just a lot of interesting things, right? So here they have some mannequins. You can see down there, all the blue is the water. So it's pretty interesting. So these mines go up and down probably a couple 100 feet, and as in every mine, you need to have a religious center or statue. So that's what that is, which I thought was pretty interesting. And all throughout the mine, you can see like workstations on how people worked. It was always interesting to me, like, why do you need a hat inside? So this here are all the cards. They're like metal plaques that people created. All the miners did for well wishes or healing needed for family members. Some of them are pretty graphic, but pretty interesting. So there you can see some water kind of flowing down. It was pretty dark inside here. I will say the lighting, pretty interesting. This was also pretty fascinating. It was like a miner that died in the wall, and they decided to leave him there, right? So you can imagine like hundreds of men working in the dark, right, with candles and sledgehammers and pickaxes, and you can see them here. They're from a wooden platform. Things that you definitely wouldn't be allowed to do in the United States, right? So what was also pretty fascinating, and it didn't come out in the video, was the children that they used. They would carve these ladders out of these essentially large trees, and they would create a passageway for these children to go down to the bottom of the mine, collect all the ore, put it on their back, and walk up the mine, right? So it's really crazy. So here's a natural indoor waterfall. They turned it into a water feature. Yeah, people throw pesos in there, and of course there's a grate, right? We don't want people stealing the pesos. So the height of this ceiling was like so concerning. Even though I'm wearing a hard hat, I'm 6'2", and many places in the ceiling, in this mine, the ceiling was only maybe like 5'10", maybe 6 feet. Obviously, that didn't open up into an expanse, right? But they have all these little stations here that showed life, like people eating or working, mostly working. So and yes, it's dark. So there's always this concern, like I say, right? Of like, I mean, you got the floor lighting, but and I was always kind of like, am I gonna bump into something? So they had these little stations here and there to kind of showcase how the mechanics of the mine worked, right? With air, bellows, um, and this is kind of getting toward the end of it. I did edit a lot of this out because just you really can't see it, right? But there were these giant like portions of the ceiling that would jettison down, right? So I was I was definitely concerned about it, right? And you could see you're just like walking along, and it's pretty dark. And then you kind of get to the end over here where you return your hard hat. So I did that, but you can still see you have quite a long ways to walk, and the ceiling in many places is still low. So pretty concerned, right? So and then as you get closer to the end, they have like examples of like cribbing that they would use to support the mine and the mine shaft as you get closer and closer to the exit. Now, the exit, just to let you know, is nowhere near the entrance. I looked at the map, and it was a good eighth of a mile away. So I thought that was pretty interesting that it wouldn't bring you back out near where you started. So I decided to go for a walk down the street and go find the cathedral here in town. So you can see a lot of these streets here, like many other streets in small towns, right? Even big towns, but it's very steep. Not as steep as Guanajuato, but still steep. Definitely a challenge. I can only imagine what it's like when it gets bad weather, and they do get snow here. So this is the main cathedral here in Zacatecas, and what's fascinating is like the main facade on this building, as you can see. It's known as one of the most outstanding examples of Baroque art in all of Mexico. So that's pretty fascinating. So some of the history of this building, it was there were two other buildings built on this site. The first one was built in 1568 as a parish church. The second was a second temple church, was built in place of the old one and was known to be consecrated in 1625. The church that you're seeing in front of you was the groundbreaking was in 1729, and it was completed in 1772. So in 1862, Pope Pius the Ninth gave the church the cathedral status, and finally, in the year 1959, Pope John 23rd elevated it to a basilica. So, pretty fascinating church with a lot of history. Um, the floor of the building, it's shaped like a Latin cross. Something else that's pretty fascinating. Um, and the building's exterior, in case you didn't notice that, is covered with pink stone. So I didn't get a shot of the outside of this church, but this is, to me, I thought it was really remarkable. All of the walls are done in gold leaf. Um, the floors, as you can see, are all hardwood, herringbone. Just a really amazing church, in my opinion. So I'm gonna let the video play out here. And look, there's a lot to see here in Zacatecas, and you could easily spend 2 weeks here. There's just a lot of great things to see. Great people. The food that I've eaten here has been fantastic. Um, if you're looking for somewhere to go, I would highly recommend stopping here. The weather has just been phenomenal. It's been in the low 70s. It's been in the 60s and 50s at night. Um, no humidity, no mosquitoes, so just really great. Um, and I wanted to thank each and every one of my subscribers for all of the comments. I really do appreciate answering all the questions. So please feel free to share, subscribe, and like these videos. And thanks again.